वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विश्रम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विश्रम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति विज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विश्रम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोपाल की जय। नितिल विश्व महाभागवत शिल गोक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिल विश्व शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल विश्व वैश्य सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूप गौरी गुरु वार्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल दास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंद ऋषि गोपाल वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री गोपी महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। So today we'll be reading about Varaha Dev. Just sharing my screen. All right. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयमुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranams, Indira Mataji. The appearance of Lord Varāha. Shri Shuka Uvacha, Nishamya Vacham Vadato, Mune Punyatamam Nripa, Bhuya Papracha Koravyo, Vasudeva Katadrita. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, O King, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. Purport. The word adrita is significant because it indicates that Vidura had a natural inclination for hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was never fully satisfied, though continuing to hear those topics. He wanted to hear more and more so that he could be more and more blessed by the transcendental message. Vidura uvacha Savai Swayam Bhuva Samrat Priya Putra Swayam Bhuva Pratilabhya Priyam Patnim Kim Chakara Tato Mune. Vidura said, O great sage, what did Swayambhuva, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife? What was his wife's name again? Priya, no, something I can't remember. Charitam tasya rajarsher adi rajasya sattama bruhim me shraddhadanaya vishvaksena shrayo yaso. O best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, Manu, was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead Hari, and thus it is worth hearing of his sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I am very eager to hear. Purport. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is full of the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. In the absolute world, there is no difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of the pure devotee have the same result, namely, the development of devotional service. Shrutasya pungsam suchirashramasya nanvanjasa suribira editorta Tatar gunanu shravana mukunda padaravindam hridayeshu yesham. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, who awards his devotees liberation. Purport. Transcendental students are those who undergo great penance in being trained by hearing the Vedas from a bona fide spiritual master. Not only must they hear about the activities of the Lord, but they must also hear about the transcendental qualities of the devotees, who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. A pure devotee of the Lord cannot be separated from the lotus feet of the Lord for even a moment. Undoubtedly, the Lord is always within the hearts of all living creatures, but they hardly know about it because they are deluded by the illusory material energy. The devotees, however, realize the presence of the Lord, and therefore they can always see the lotus feet of the Lord within their hearts. Such pure devotees of the Lord are as glorious as the Lord. They are, in fact, recommended by the Lord as more worshipable than he himself. Worship of the devotee is more potent than worship of the Lord. It is therefore the duty of transcendental students to hear of pure devotees, as explained by similar devotees of the Lord, because one cannot explain about the Lord or his devotee unless one happens to be a pure devotee himself. I love this part. Okay, I'm just saving. Yes. Actually, I want to say from this part down. Sorry. I love saving these awesome quotes. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha Iti Bruvana Iti Bruvanam Viduram Vinitam Iti Bruvanam Viduram Vinitam Sahasra Sirshnas Charanopadhanam Prahristaroma Bhagavat Katayam Praniyamano Munirabhyachashta. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, okay, Satarupa, that's Manu, Swayambhuva Manu's wife is Satarupa. Cool, thank you, Indira Mataji. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura, because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. Purport. The word Sahasra Shirshna is very significant. One who has diverse energies and activities and a wonderful brain is known as the Sahasra Shirshna. That means 1,000 heads, right? Let me just check. I think so. Sahasra, I don't know. I'm guessing. Maybe not. The qualification is applicable only to the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and no one else. The personality of Godhead was pleased to dine sometimes with Vidura at his home, and while resting, he placed his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura. Maitreya was inspired by the thought of Vidura's wonderful fortune. The hairs of his body stood on end, and he was pleased to narrate the topics of the personality of Godhead with great delight. Maitreya Uvacha, once again. Yes, see, Shirshna means one with heads. Head, Shirshna, from the top of the head. Yeah, so Sahasra Shirshna means 1,000-headed one. Okay. I mean, maybe there's other deeper meanings to it, but that's this. Okay. Maitreya Uvacha, Yada Swabharyaya Sardham, Yada Swabharyaya Sardham, Jata Swayam Bhuvo Manu, Pranjali Pranataschedam, Veda Garbam Abhashata. The sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. Tameka sarva bhutanam janmakrid vrittida pita tatapi na prajanang te shushrusha kenava bhavit. So Manu said to Brahma, you are the father of all living entities and the source of their subsistence because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service unto you. Purport. A son's duty is not only to make the father the source of supply for all his needs, but also, when he is grown up, to render service unto him. That is the law of creation beginning from the time of Brahma. A father's duty is to bring up the son until he is grown up. And when the son is grown up, it is his duty to render service unto the father. Yeah, it's not like that in the West anymore. Tarvidehi namastubhyam karmas vidyatma shaktishu yat kritveha yasha vishva amutra cha bhavergati. O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity, so that we can follow it for fame in this life and progress in the next. Purport. Brahma is the direct recipient of Vedic knowledge from the personality of Godhead, and anyone discharging his entrusted duties in disciplic succession from Brahma is sure to gain fame in this life and salvation. One is sure to gain fame in this life and salvation in the next. The disciplic succession from Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya, and it descends as follows. Brahma, Narad, Vyasa, Madhva Muni, Punapragya, Padmanabha, Nrihari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Jnanasindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottam, Brahmanyatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwarapuri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarup Damodar, and Sri Rupa Goswami, and others. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Nartam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Śrīmad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. This line of disciplic succession from Brahma is spiritual, whereas the genealogical succession from Manu is material. But both are on the progressive march towards the same goal of Krishna consciousness. Brahmavacha Pritastubhyamaham tata swastistadvam chitishvara yanirvyalikena hreda shadhi metatmanarpitam. Lord Brahma said, "My dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you, and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have without reservation surrendered yourself unto me with your heart for my instructions." Purport. The relationship between the father and the son is always sublime. The father is naturally disposed with goodwill towards the son, and he is always ready to help the son in his progress in life. But in spite of the father's goodwill, the son is sometimes misguided because of his misuse of personal independence. Every living entity, however small or big he may be, has the choice of independence. If the son is unreservedly willing to be guided by the father is 10 times more eager to instruct and guide him by all means. The father and son relationship as exhibited here in the dealings of Brahma and Manu is excellent. Both the father and the son are well qualified, and their example should be followed by all humankind. Manu, the son, unreservedly asked the father, Brahma, to instruct him, and the father, who is full of Vedic wisdom, was very glad to instruct. The example of the father and mankind may be rigidly followed by mankind, and that will advance the cause of the relationship of fathers and sons. Etavadatmajar vira karya hyapachitir guru shaktya pramattair krihyeta sadaram gatamatsarai. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of his father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity. And we're all the sons of Srila Gurudev, so sons and daughters, I mean. And so this applies not just to our own fathers, but how, when we get the order of Gurudev, we must with great delight execute it to our full capacity. Purport. When the 4 previous sons of Brahma, the sages Sanak, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar, refused to obey their father, Brahma was mortified, and his anger was manifested in the shape of Rudra. That incident was not forgotten by Brahma, and therefore the obedience of Manu Swayambhuva was very encouraging. From the material point of view, the 4 sages' disobedience to the order of their father was certainly abominable, but because such a disobedience was for a higher purpose, they were free from the reaction of disobedience. Those who disobey their fathers on material grounds, however, are surely subjected to disciplinary reaction for such disobedience. Manu's obedience to his father on material grounds was certainly free from envy, and in the material world it is imperative for ordinary men to follow the example of Manu. Satvam asyam apatyani sadrishyanyatmano gunai utpadya shasadharmena gamya gyai purusham yaja. Since you are my very obedient son, I ask you to beget children qualified like yourself in the womb of your wife. Rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus worship the Lord by performance of yajna. Purport. The purpose of the material creation by Brahma is clearly described herein. Every human being should beget nice children in the womb of his wife, as a sacrifice for the purpose of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service. In the Vishnu Puran 3.8.9, it is stated, Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnuraradhate panta nanyatattosakaranam. One can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, by proper discharge of the principles of Varna and Ashram. There is no alternative to pacifying the Lord by execution of the principles of the Varnashram system. Vishnu worship is the ultimate aim of human life. Those who take the license of married life for sense enjoyment must also take the responsibility to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And the first stepping stone is the Varnashram Dharma system. Varnashram Dharma is a systematic institution for advancing in worship of Vishnu. However, if one directly engages in the process of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it may not be necessary to undergo the disciplinary system of Varnashram Dharma. The other sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, directly engaged in devotional service, and thus they had no need to execute the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Param shushrushanam mahyam syat praja rakshaya nripa bhagavangste praja bhartur rishikesho nutushyati. O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. Purport. The whole administrative system is arranged for the purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. Brahma is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Manu is the representative of Brahma. Similarly, all other kings on different planets of the universe are representatives of Manu. The law book for the entire human society is the Manu Samhita, which directs all activities towards the transcendental service of the Lord. Every king, therefore, must know that his responsibility in administration is not merely to exact taxes from the citizens, but to see personally that the citizens under him are being trained in Vishnu worship. Everyone must be educated in Vishnu worship and engaged in the devotional service of Hrishikesha, the owner of the senses. The conditioned souls are meant not to satisfy the material senses, but to satisfy the senses of Hrishikesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the purpose of the complete administrative system. One who knows the secret, as disclosed here in the version of Brahma, is the perfect administrative head. One who does not know this is a show bottle administrator. By training the citizens in devotional service to the Lord, the head of a state can be free in his responsibility. Otherwise, he will fail in the onerous duty entrusted to him and is thus punishable by the supreme authority. Onerous. And I just want to see I have an idea what onerous means, but I want to see the dictionary. The task proved to be more onerous, involving of a task, duty, or responsibility, involving an amount of effort and difficulty that is oppressively burdensome. Onerous. Okay. So by training the citizens in devotional service, the head of a state can be free in his responsibility. Otherwise he'll fail in the onerous duty entrusted to him, and thus be punishable by the supreme authority. There is no other alternative in the discharge of administrative duty. Yesham na tushta bhagavan yagyalingo janardana tesham shramo hyapartaya yaratma nadrita swayam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, Lord Krishna, is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interests. Purport. Brahma is deputed as the supreme head of universal affairs, and he in his turn deputes Manu and others as charges. Oh God, I don't know how to say that. Oh man, I'm not even gonna try. Zafir? I don't know. Shar Zafir. It means a diplomatic official who temporarily takes the place of an ambassador. Okay. So he in turn deputes Manu and others as Shar Zafir on the order of material manifestation, but the whole show is for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma knows how to satisfy the Lord, and similarly, persons engaged in the line of Brahma's plan of activities also know how to satisfy the Lord. The Lord is satisfied by the process of devotional service, consisting of the ninefold process of hearing, chanting, etc. It is in one's own self-interest to execute prescribed devotional service, and anyone who neglects this process neglects his own self-interests. Everyone wants to satisfy his senses, but above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence. Above the intelligence is the individual self, and above the individual self is the super self. Above even the super self is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu Tattva. The primeval Lord and the cause of all causes is Sri Krishna. The complete process of perfectional service is to render service for the satisfaction of the transcendental senses of Lord Krishna, who is known as Janardana. Sorry, just quick thought. Everyone wants to satisfy. Real self-service, real self-care is not just giving yourself a break and taking it easy and taking care of your body, but real self-care is above what is good for your body, what's good for your mind, what's what your intelligence wants, but is to feed you, to care for your soul, and even more than that is to care for Bhagavan, to serve Bhagavan. Sorry, okay. Manurvacha adeshe ham bhagavato vartayami vasudhana stanam tihanu janihi prajanam mamacha prabho. Sri Manu said, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. Yaroka sarvabhutana mahimagna mahambasi asya udharane yatno deva devya vidiyatam. O Master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Purport. The great water mentioned in this connection is the Garbhodak ocean, which fills half of the universe. Maitreya Uvacha Parameshti Tvapam Madhye Tata Sannam Avekshagam Katam Enam Samunesha Iti Dadhyo Diyachiram. Sri Maitreya said, thus seeing the earth submerged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. Purport. According to Jiva Goswami, the topics delineated here are of different millenniums. The present topics are of the Shveta Varaha millennium, and topics regarding the Chakshusha millennium will also be discussed in this chapter. Srejato me kshitir varbhi plavyamana rasangata atatra kim anushdeya asmapi sargayojitai yasyaham hridaya dasam sa isho vidatatu me. Brahma thought, while I've been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do? What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. Purport. The devotees of the Lord, who are all confidential servitors, are sometimes perplexed in the discharge of their respective duties, but they are never discouraged. They have full faith in the Lord, and He paves the way for the smooth progress of the devotee's duty. Ittabhidyayato nasa vivarat sahasanaga varahato kaniragar angushta parimanaka. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of the thumb. Tasya bipashyata kasta kshanena kila bharata gajamatra pravavrite taradbhutam abhun mahat. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant. Marichi pramakar vipray kumarar manuna saha drishtva tvat sokaram rupam tarkayam asachitratha. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great Brahmins like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Kimetat sukara vyajam sattvam devyam avastitam aho patascharyam idam nasaya me vinisritam. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. Drishtongushta shiro matra kshanarganda shila sama apisvir bhagavan esha yagyo me ketayan mana. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu? Since Brahma is the supermost person in the universe, he had never before experienced such a form. He could guess that the wonderful appearance of the boar was an incarnation of Vishnu. The uncommon features symptomatic of the incarnation of Godhead can bewilder even the mind of Brahma. Iti mimang satastasya brahmana sahasunubhi Bhagavan Yagapurusho Jagar Jagendra Sannibha. While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, roared tumultuously like a great mountain. Purport. It appears that great hills and mountains also have their roaring power because they are also living entities. The volume of the sounds vibrated is in proportion to the size of the material body. While Brahma was guessing about the appearance of the Lord's incarnation as a boar, the Lord confirmed Brahma's contemplation by roaring with his gorgeous voice. Brahmanam harshayam asa haristangscha dijotaman sakarjitena kakupa pratiswanayata vibhu. I love that way of the Lord confirming that he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead just by okay, that must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmins by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Brahma and other enlightened Brahmins who know the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of his multi-incarnations. The appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boar did not fill them with any kind of fear, although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed horribly in all directions as an open threat to all demons who might challenge his omnipotency. Nishamyate kargharitam sakheda ksharishnumaya mayasukarasya janastapa satya nivasinaste tribhi pavitrar munayo grinansma. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sounds of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the 3 Vedas. I love Lord Boar. Purport. The word Maya is very significant in this verse. Maya means mercy, specific knowledge, and also illusion. Therefore, Lord Boar is everything. He is merciful, he is all knowledge, and he is illusion also. The sound which he vibrated as the boar incarnation was answered by the Vedic hymns of the great sages in the planets Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. The highest intellectual and pious living entities live in those planets. And when they heard the extraordinary voice of the boar, they could understand that the specific sounds was vibrated by the Lord and no one else. Therefore, they replied by praying to the Lord with Vedic hymns. The earth planet was submerged in the mire, but on hearing the sounds of the Lord, the inhabitants of the higher planets were all jubilant because they knew that the Lord was there to deliver the earth. Therefore, Brahma and all the sages, such as Bhrigu, Brahma's other sons, and learned Brahmins were enlivened, and they concertedly joined in praising the Lord with the transcendental vibrations of the Vedic hymns. The most important is in the Brihan Naradiya Purana verse, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tesham satam veda vitana murtir Brahma vadaryatma gunanuvadam vinatapuyo vibhuddodaya yaya Gajendra lila jalama vivesha. Playing like an elephant, He entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Purport. The form of the Lord in any shape is always transcendental and full of knowledge and mercy. The Lord is the destroyer of all material contamination, because his form is personified Vedic knowledge. All the Vedas worship the transcendental form of the Lord. And the Vedic mantras, the devotees request the Lord to remove the glaring effulgence because it covers his real face. That is the version of the Ishupanishad. The Lord has no material form, but his form is always understood in terms of the Vedas. The Vedas are said to be the breath of the Lord, and that breath was inhaled by Brahma, the original student of the Vedas. The breathing from the nostril of Brahma caused the appearance of Lord Boar, and therefore the boar incarnation of the Lord is the personified Vedas. The glorification of the incarnation by the sages on the higher planets consisted of factual Vedic hymns. Whenever there is glorification of the Lord, it is to be understood that Vedic mantras are being rightly vibrated. The Lord was therefore pleased when such Vedic mantras were chanted, and to encourage his pure devotees, he roared once more and entered the water to rescue the submerged earth. Ukshiptavala kachara katora shata vidunvan kararo mashatvak kura hatabra sitadhangstra iksha jyotir bhavase bhagavan mahidra. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. Purport. When the Lord is offered prayers by his devotees, his transcendental activities are described. Here are some of the transcendental features of Lord Boar. As the residents of the upper three planetary systems offered their prayers to the Lord, it is understood that his body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet Brahmaloka, or Satyaloka. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that his eyes are the sun and the moon. His eyes are the sun and the moon. Therefore, his very glance over the sky was as illuminating as the sun or the moon. The Lord is described herein as Mahidra, which means either a big mountain or the sustainer of the earth. In other words, the Lord's body was as big and hard as the Himalayan mountains. Otherwise, how is it possible that he kept the entire earth on the support of his white tusks? The poet Jayadev, a great devotee of the Lord, has sung of the incident in his prayers for the incarnations. Vasati dashana shikare dharani tavalagna shashini kalanka kaleva nimagna keshavadrita shukara rupa jai jagarisha hare jai jagarisha hare jai jagarisha hare. All glories to Lord Keshav, Krishna, who appeared as the boar. The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like the scars on the moon. Granena pritva padavim vichikran kroda padesha swayamadvaranga Karala dhangstra karala trigbhyam udviksha vipran grinato vishatkam. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmins engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. Purport. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas, or transcendental. But since he had assumed the form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling, just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees. But to the pure devotees of the Lord, he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness. Savaja kutanga nipata vega vishirna kukshi stanayan utanvang utsrishta dirghormi bujar ivartash chukrosha yageshvara pahimeti. Diving into the water like a great mountain, Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection." Purport. Even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental boar, and it appeared to be frightened, as if death were imminent. Okay, this is the last verse we're reading today. Kuraikshuraprar darayam starapa utparaparam triparurasayam dadarshagam tatra shushupsuragre yam jivadhanim swayamabhyadhatta. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and he found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Purport. The word Rasayam is sometimes interpreted to mean Rasatala, the lowest planetary system. But that is not applicable in this connection, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The Earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tal, Atal, Talatal, Vital, Rasatal, Patal, etc. Therefore, the Earth cannot be situated in the Rasatal planetary system. It is described in the Vishnu Dharma. Patala Muleshvara Bhoga Samhato Vinyasya Pado Prativim Chabhibrata Yasyopamano Na Babhuvaso Chuto Mamastu Mangalya Vivridhaye Hari. Therefore, the Lord founds the earth on the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day. Lord Shri Varāha Deva Ki Jai. That was really cool. That was really fun. And tomorrow we are going to read, today we read about the pastimes of Shveta Varāha, the white Varāha, and tomorrow we will read about the pastimes of Nila Varāha. The Lord killed Hiranyaksha and held the earth on his tusks. And we'll hear the prayers by the sages. And then the Lord, he returns, and we hear about the power, we hear about the benediction we get from hearing this pastime of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Varahadev, 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 Jaya Varahadev, Jaya Varahadev, 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 Jaya Varahadev, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garangandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj the Gurudeva Ki Jai Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishram Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shrimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishram Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishra Maha Bhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishra Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishra Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nugagoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Pata Dashagunath, Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari, Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandal, Gaura Mandal, Vaja Mandal, Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radhakund Shamakund Ki Jai, Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Varaha Dev Ki Jai, Shri Lakshmi Varaha Ki Jai, Shri Kola Dev Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shinitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Oh, and okay. Chidanti Maharaj once said that Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is his sense gratification. Like, for me, usually sense gratification is watching a movie, or, that's like beyond it being spiritually nourishing and uplifting, but it's also like really, even in a mundane way, it's like very entertaining. And I'm now I don't know, I'm just starting to get a little bit of that feeling, like it's tasty. I hope that the taste always that increases more and more and more. I don't always have taste, but yeah. All right, Haribol. See you all tomorrow.